Okay, I just got a call and have to pause. So, what is going in Ukraine? Russia having powerful army. I think the second after US is invading a weaker country, Ukraine. Ukraine was under Soviet Union before Soviet Union broke off, and then it became independent when Soviet Union broke off, and it has been, I think, for 10 years already. It has been independent, but that country has always been disturbed by Russia, especially when Russia was under Putin. So Putin is the president of Russia currently, but he is sort of a man with Putin became president not out of election, but the former president of Russia, Yeltsin, chose him to be the president when Russia was in crisis, invading Chechnya. So actually the invasion of Chechnya was made by, it's a conspiracy story of that Russia bombed a resident in Russia and blame it on Chechnya. And then what happened was just to make it a justification for Russia to invade Chechnya. So yes, in the end, after bloody war, Chechnya was conquered, and at that time Yeltsin took the opportunity to appoint Putin. So at a time of crisis, it's like there's no choice, because Yeltsin make a reason for choosing Putin, because Putin was at that time was like the deputy of Yeltsin, and he led the war in Chechnya, and when Russia won the battle in Chechnya, so a lot of praise was on Putin, and was seen as Putin as the right successor, just like the right successor. And the opposition party was then condemned or put down by Yeltsin, saying they are not fit, and Putin was seen as more fit to be the president of Russia at that time. So it wasn't by election, but then Boris Yeltsin was also a corrupted man. So I think his reason is also he wants protection from the law from Putin as the president. Of course, when Putin was made president, Putin fulfilled his promise to protect Boris Yeltsin. So it was a conspiracy to protect Boris Yeltsin against the law as well. So we can see that in Russia, the president can be powerful if he is a brutal man, because Putin is from KGB. You know KGB, the spy, of course. That kind of background is threatening to the opposition. So until now, when Putin is the president, it's very hard to remove him. He want to be president again, elected, because actually his term was already expired, but somehow he wants to be president, and he was successful in making the people to make him as president, and of course his opposition will be in trouble if they are opposing him. So there are many stories of opposition person who oppose him strongly got poisoned or killed, and that is how Putin now is still the president of Russia, and he also developed cronies, his friend who support him. They are rich people called oligarchs, because Putin is the person who rule like dictator. So an authoritarian rule, who decide who owns the company in Russia. So this kind of man, Putin, from the history, he like sometime to put him in power. He make the crisis. He make the country in crisis. So taking opportunity in crisis, that is the expression made to Putin, the man who take opportunity in crisis. So he talk about security of the country, and people believe him that Ukraine is threatening Russia. Do you believe Ukraine is threatening Russia? I don't believe it, because Ukraine is a small country, have less army than Russia. So why he's saying Ukraine is threatening Russia. But somehow, by saying that again and again, make people believe. Other than that, he said there are people in Ukraine who are Russian and they want to be under Russia rather than Ukraine. So Putin make the slander that the president of Ukraine is like discriminating these Russian people in Ukraine. Of course, the way that Putin want to control Ukraine is his way is to make a puppet president. So he assigned a president there, but the president must follow his way or his rule. So it happened before in Afghanistan, where Afghanistan president was a puppet president of Russia. Afghanistan being the Muslim country, just imagine the president being a person who has different ideology, a communist. So that's what happened in Ukraine. So the president of Ukraine used to be the puppet of Russia, but then Ukraine is a democratic country. In the end, people are tired of being under the rule of Russia. So when there was an election, the new person who is not a puppet won the election and was chosen to be the president of Ukraine. So this person, his name is Zelensky. He is a charming president, well liked by his people, and Ukraine was prosperous under him. Many students come to Ukraine to study in the universities. Surprised me. It looked like England, where many people, foreign students, come to study. So Ukraine is also like that. When it was under Zelensky, many universities there. In one city, there are 20 universities in one city near the east. I can't remember the name of the city, where there are 20 universities and many foreign students studying in Ukraine. Ukraine people are also clever people. They have built atomic nuclear power station that produce electricity. That is amazing. They have these things, technology, and at one time Ukraine have nuclear weapons, nuclear missiles, but under their agreement of peace, under the pressure from Russia and US as well, that they agree to be non-nuclear country. So when they agree to the non-nuclear country, their nuclear missiles were removed or sent to Russia. And recently I heard that they regretted that doing of removing, because they were promised that Russia will not invade them and US will not invade Ukraine. So if one country invade, the other country will protect. For example, if Russia invade Ukraine, US will protect. If US invade Ukraine, Russia will protect. So that feeling of being protected by powerful country make them to be a non-nuclear country, and they remove the nuclear missiles from Ukraine. And lately I heard that they regret the doing because Russia had not made promise of not invading Ukraine, and US is also not like to have a third world war to directly involve fighting in Ukraine. And that's the reason why Putin dared to invade Ukraine, because Russia is a nuclear country having nuclear bomb, so it cannot be invaded, because if there's a third world war, the world fear of a nuclear war that is to be avoided. So once the US and Russia shoot each other, they say it will become a third world war, and US is very hard trying to avoid it. This is shown by when Ukraine asked for no-fly zone in Ukraine. When the Ukraine president asked for no-fly zone in Ukraine, US saying no, we cannot do that, to avoid them involved directly fighting the Russian army, which they say will lead to Third World War and will bring more this potential to bring more destruction. And Putin had been known to say to the army, be alert, be no nuclear alert, ready for nuclear alert, meaning that sentence appeared to be threatening the world with nuclear war. And that kind of statement was not response by US. President Biden was not saying anything about nuclear, just trying to avoid it, and not even granting requests of President of Ukraine asking for no-fly zone in Ukraine. So even Zelensky put pressure on asking again and again for no-fly zone, and US keep saying no, despite of the pressure of hospital being bombed by the Russian army. But then we see the US is trying their best to help with supplying weapons to Ukraine. The handheld missile, the Javelin, it seems to be effective in destroying the Russian tank column. The Javelin, and also the British is very strong in helping the Ukrainian army supplying weapons, their version of handheld missiles, NGLO, which is equally effective as Javelin, but it has the advantage of being light, which the Ukrainian soldiers like to carry above. But Javelin also good, but it's quite heavy. But the advantage of Javelin is that the missile can be used and reused, but this GLO or British missile is disposable missiles. One it fired and then it is disposed, so we have to get new one from the box, a fresh one to fire. So they have to carry more of this GLO missile, but it's okay because it's not that heavy. I think the Javelin weighed 50 kilograms, whilst the and British missile only weighed about 20 kilograms. So it's light. Of course, the soldiers like to carry it when it is light, but somehow the Javelin is also carried in the front line, and these two missiles and also the Stinger missile, the famous Stinger missile, is also very effective in downing the jet plane and helicopters of the Russian attack helicopters. It's very effective. Shoot and forget. Of course, there are misses as well, but then many times it's also hit. The helicopter, I've seen that in video, it hit and the helicopter just dropped. I think now the number of helicopters being shot down is nearly 300 helicopters being shot down. You just imagine last time when Russian helicopter was bombing Syria. I've seen that the people in the helicopter just pick the bomb and then drop the bomb down, and they can hover about which house they want to destroy from the helicopter. And the people in Syria have no defense. It's the Sunni Muslim being killed in numbers in Syria. So they even by problem of refugee. So they could not stand living in their country or being bombed by this Russian army, and they migrate to Europe. So that's what happened. And you see also refugees in Ukraine. So the Ukrainians just migrate to save their lives, and the same tactic that the Russian is doing. They just bomb their place, their houses, their flats, their apartments, all bomb out. Nothing is spare, even the hospital bomb. Anything, any building they see is them is target. So their tactic is to kill the civilians, so people go away from the place and surrender. And no more fighting. That's what they are thinking. So to prevent people from fighting, it's just kill the civilian to break their spirit. But it's not happening in Ukraine. So Ukraine army being trained and having this high spirit because they have mean to destroy. So they're being motivated when they see they easily destroy the tank, helicopters, even jet plane operation destroyed by Stinger missile. And then Ukraine also get half by Turkey in supplying the drone, Turkish drone Bayraktar, which is proven to be lethal weapon, and it's been proven, and it's proven again in Ukraine, where it bombed the tank column and many Russian vehicles like the oil tanker, missiles, launcher being bombed. Even the Russian soldiers were targeted by the Bayraktar drone. Even what I know, one Russian general who bought SIM, the Ukrainian SIM, and then when he used the SIM, it also give the location of the general, and then the location is relayed to the Bayraktar drone, and the drone come to fire missile to this general, and he was killed by the Bayraktar drone. So things like this, and wonder why the general using the SIM of Ukraine SIM. So there must be someone saying that this number belong to the general, and then when that number use, you give the location where his telephone is, and that also indicate where he is. That give the GPS location of where he was. Then the Bayraktar drone come to target and kill the general. So you see, Russian general had been killed in Ukraine. I think that was the last one, was the fourth general killed in Ukraine. So Ukraine give a steep resistance with the weapons supplied by US, UK, Great Britain, also German, also supplying the missile that can destroy Russian tank. Is like what's the name? I forget, but it looked like RPG of German version, but more powerful than the Russian version RPG, and also light and easily be carried by the soldiers. So German is also helping Ukraine in a big way, supplying this German version of RPG. Also Sweden also supplying the missile that look like British, that look similar to the British missile but made in Sweden. Who else is helping? I think one country also want to give Ukraine its S-300. I think Slovakia is about to give S-600, and Poland, its neighbor, supplying Ukraine with MiG-29 with the promise that when they give MiG-29 to Ukraine, US will replace that with US jet plane F-16. It appears that Ukraine pilot like very much MiG-29, and the jet plane is effective, shown to be effective in destroying the Russian jet plane. The Russian use Sukhoi 35 and Ukrainian pilot, they call it ghost pilot, is the first ace in this modern world fighting with jet. He downed 6 Russian jet plane with his MiG. So that won a praise that Ukrainian pilot is shown to be skillful pilot. And I know now from the report of YouTube that Ukrainian able to stop the tank column of Russia from advancing. We call it stall. So now, with many weapons and improved skill of the Ukrainian in using the missile and Hell missile, we can see now that Russian attack of Ukraine is being bogged down, and they believe if it go on like this for another month, more of the Russian tank will be destroyed, and won't be surprised they retrieve. The more they come, the more of their tank got destroyed, because Ukraine has not short of soldiers or people to do it, because other countries also helping. The person from other countries also helping, like Japanese. 70 Japanese is in Ukraine helping the Ukrainian people to fight the Russian. So I heard in total like 20,000 foreigners, fighters helping Ukraine in fighting the Russian. So there are also Ukrainian people, volunteers or people who are ordinary people who has no military experience being trained. They are volunteers. They are ready to defend their country. Even the ladies, the women fighters, they are also volunteers. One I heard is the woman bank manager also helping. So from all sort of life of the Ukrainian people helping or fighting the Russian, the brave people. Of course, they don't like, the people of Ukrainian don't like to be under Russian rule. So they are fighting. They are fighting back very hard and ready to die for the freedom. Okay, I think I complete my video today, which title Talk on Religion and War in Ukraine. Thank you very much for listening.